I think I accidentally changed up a gear just then. Oh well, I'll have to go faster then. It's a good thing, this. They're amazing things, motorbikes. Get you absolutely anywhere. Not necessarily this one, but mind you, you'd be surprised where you could take this bike. Now, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna, well, do a little performance test of this Lambs approved DRZ 250. It's quite an old bike now, but they're still very popular bikes, especially for learners. Now, how does this bike handle? That's what we're discussing today. How does the bike ride? Because last time was an owner's review and a bit of a rundown of what the bike was, and today's going to be basically how it rides. And the answer to that is fairly well. My boot's quite wet now. That mustn't have sealed that up properly. This bike's only done 26,000 kilometers in its what, 16-17 year life. What's that work out to be? Let me do maths now. Hang on, I'm gonna think. So if I've got to divide 26 into 17, and that's how many kilometers a year, our average, it does. And bumpy, bumpy, bumpy. And so yeah, the only bad thing I would have said about this bike is it is a little bit underpowered, and it is a little bit underpowered, and the suspension's a bit soft. But other than that, that's pretty much the only negative thing I could say about it. But anyway, the only criticisms I have about the bike are you do run out of revs on your gears very quickly, and you get to here and then all of a sudden you can't accelerate. You do find yourself changing gears quite a bit, like even there. But then you get up to speed and all is good in the world. I always wanted to drag, like, see how fast this thing could go to 100. Do a proper drag race. So I just changed gear down then and still had to rev for the next gear to actually work properly. You know how it has that whine, like it hasn't got enough revs. Ooh. I think I hit metal there. That's what I'm saying. You just doesn't have the same grunt as a higher powered bike or that of a two-stroke at all. It's you twist the throttle and it almost goes, well, are you sure? Before it applies any of the power, and then it goes, oh, all right then. The brakes are exceptional though, and maybe they're even too exceptional, because you do find yourself locking up fairly often. More so on loose gravel surfaces more than tarmac. But then what I found when I'm riding is that you are locking up the brakes and having to brake a lot harder on this sort of terrain than you are on sealed surfaces. Not that I do much riding at all on sealed surfaces. Another improvement I'd like about these bikes is another improvement about these bikes I wish they would put in is on the display is a bit that shows you a bit that shows you what gear you're in, like they do on cars. That would be actually lovely. For instance, you could quite happily just sit doing 50 and 60, but then you also can get up to 120 if you're really pushing it in 5th gear. So it's got quite a large range of speed. Pedal to the metal. Going downhill we might get to 100. 100, 101, 102. See? And back doing 50 in the same top gear. It's I haven't changed gear at all. So in that regard it's quite cool. But then corner, stay on the left, Jack. And the middle gears are where you've got to sort of change up a fair bit. Sort of gear 2 and 3 you're constantly changing between them. You're constantly changing between those 2 gears. You're constantly changing between, well, 3 and 4. 2, 3 and 4 are the gears you change between the most. And 1 when it gets really a bit dicky. But when you're that harder stuff, when you're on gear 1, you just want to make sure you get up to the top, not try and do it fast. See, again, even braking to there, I was locking up the rear brake. It's very easy to do in this bike for some unbeknown reason. Alright, 1st gear, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so I didn't quite have enough room there. But 0 to 90 we'll say. I'll post my 0 to 80 and 0 to 90 times on the screen somewhere when I work out what they are, because, well, I'll just go based off what the cameras say. I don't normally push the bike that hard. Actually, this is the first time I've ever done one of those, so. Anyway, the bike on the road is quite, once you're up to speed, especially on surfaces that aren't gravel all the time. Yeah, I know where I am now. You do find yourself gripping to the road a lot more than when you're going slower. Like for instance there. When you're off the road it's perfectly capable, but it's not an enduro bike, and it's not, like, it gets me places where I've ridden with people who ride enduro bikes, but that was going sort of where this was capable of. I dare say if we went on a different road that this wasn't capable of, a different summary, a different story would have occurred. I've gone heaps of places today, but at the same time I haven't gone anywhere. Feels like a good off-road motorbike. I mean, it's definitely not a fast thing, which is probably why it's very easily learners approved. Although if it was rebuilt and tried to be re-learners approved in this day and age, it probably wouldn't be, just because it misses out on, well, any safety technology at all. I think bikes now, that's why they stopped making the DRZs, because they didn't want to put in traction control and ABS. Why would you want traction control on a motorbike, especially an off-road one? But anyway, It's a great little thing. I mean, just for a commuter, the previous owner before me was in St Helens, but and had hardly used it. They just sort of bought it and it sat in the shed. But the owner before that, who was the original owner of the bike, just used it for commuting around Hobart. He said he'd only done 25,000 kilometres when he bought it, and so he'd done less than 1,000 kilometres on it when I bought it. And well, it's currently at 26,126 kilometres on the dot. I would definitely, if you was undecided whether to go the 250 or the 400 and you're a sort of competent rider, I know which one I'd be going for. Alright. Let's just duck down here back onto the fire brake. 70 kilometers an hour seems like this bike's happy speed. Alright, let's head back this way. And off the road, the bike, you know, it does everything that every other bike can do. The only thing is, for instance, when you're going down hills, I wish the low gear 1, or it either had another gear before gear 1, like a rock crawl type mode, is what they're called in cars, but another gear for just when you're really going down steep stuff and you need to be just crawling along without locking up the wheel, if that makes sense. Because that's a very hard, especially on this bike, it's a very hard balance to find between locking up the brake and letting the bike roll. I mean, the bike is it's a lovely ride, it's comfortable. Not aimed at the tallest riders, I admit, but for shorter people, it works well. And I know you can get a number of modifications for seat height and raising the handlebars up so you're not hunched over like a little old lady all the time. I think I'll go through here again. Why does that seem to get deeper every single time I go through that? It's great fun to ride around in the mud, but then once all the water goes away, you end up with big ruts and things like that, and they never disappear. So the bike on and off the road feels, for the most part, very composed. The suspension's a bit soft. You slam on the brakes a bit too hard, but okay, you do. I don't know if that's operator error or just the brakes lock up too much. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, viewers. I hope you like it enough that you want to stick around and come back for another video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.